Hey guys, Veebat here with another V Plays. Talked about doing heavy fighters as one of my primaries in the P38J video, and I realized I don't have too many heavy videos out there with the exception of that one and the Do 335. That's really all I got. I got mostly bomber videos up, so I wanted to go over how it is that I fly heavy fighters, and I also wanted to talk about the Hornet, which is the Tier 7 British heavy aircraft. This isn't really my primary that I like to run, but I think it's a decent enough example of the gameplay. One of the things I want to note about the Hornet early on is that it's a little bit deceiving in that the Hornet is... oh, that should do it. The Hornet is not that much of an upgrade when you initially get it. In fact, it kind of sucks in that respect because you're going to go from the Mosquito, which has the exact same guns as this aircraft does stock. You're going to lose a lot of the speed because you don't have the engines upgraded yet, and even though it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, you're not going to have the 303 Brownings on the nose like you do with the Mosquito. And I know that isn't that important because they're just 303s, but you really feel the difference when you're going up against higher tiered aircraft. Now, being a heavy fighter, it really is a boom and zoom aircraft, so one of the most important things you want to have is going to be boom to go along with your zoom. So I focused on getting the guns first, but it's perfectly viable to go with the engines as well. One of the disadvantages of this aircraft initially is you start with all the same air-to-ground ordnance that you had from the Mosquito, which seems like a good thing at first, but you're probably going to be very tempted to equip all of the air-to-ground ordnance immediately. But that decreases your overall top speed and removes a lot of that zoom aspect as well. So what I tried, and I guess I'm going to advocate for everybody else, is run this thing clean until you're able to get a couple of engine upgrades, well, at least one, and then just throw on the bombs and see where it takes you from there. Because that's going to be what allows you to be able to get some of your zoom on the cheap, essentially. Because you don't actually need to buy anything, but you're going to get a little bit of that zoom out of the fact that you're not putting on high drag munitions. This aircraft is also unique when you talk about heavies in the fact that it does not have a very high altitude ceiling. As a result, it's going to feel like it's a little bit lackluster compared to some of the other aircraft that you can get that are heavies. So just be aware that you're kind of a mid-altitude heavy aircraft, so don't think that you can climb your way out of too many fights. It's just not really what you're built for. You can see me here doing exactly what a bomber should be doing, taking out heavy aircraft, taking out bombers, as well as opportunistically bombing some air-to-ground targets. In fact, I think I'm going to try and help my guys out here because we don't have this sight, and it would be nice if we did. That is an active ground target, so we will drop on you. We will drop on this one, and these are 1,000-pound bombs, which is what you get when you fully upgrade the aircraft. Of course, a bunch of my buddies are all dying here, so I'm kind of going into the heart of the beast. So we're going to use that speed, even though we're at low altitude, to try and get the heck out of here, because we got to go engage bombers. The order of importance for targets for a heavy aircraft should essentially go in this order. Heavy fighters, bombers, then ground attack, and then everything else. Because you just don't have the maneuverability to be able to go up against too many other aircraft, and you have the firepower and hit point pool to be able to go up against those GAs and bombers, while those tail gunners are going to shred some of your lighter aircraft that you play with. We're going back up against the bombers again, doing the exact same thing again, this time with less hit points, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging. I like coming up from underneath because you get the biggest cross section of the aircraft you're coming up against, so you can really put some hate into them. And now there's one down. The sooner you kill these, the sooner that they're not shooting you, so that's kind of a survival tactic that we're doing here. And I'm also getting kind of close because that's going to ensure that my guns are actually hitting the target. If you even get one of these, it'll help keep the enemy from being able to capture your zone. But as you can see, the other target I'm supposed to be going after, the GAs, there are 2 of them over this zone. So I'm going to have to go down there in a second and try and deal with that problem. There we go. This one's lower, so we're going to focus on him because it'll help get some of our cap points back if we can kill him in time. I'm firing a little bit earlier. These guns actually take quite a while to overheat, so that helps out. We're going full brakes here. You saw me talk about this in the XF5U, the full brake maneuver to be able to slow down your aircraft effectively, to be able to engage in this type of attack. And there we go, we managed to protect this site yet again. When it comes to the loadout on my heavies, I go with fire extinguisher, engine restart, and this engine cooler or booster. The reason I do that is that way I can get some speed to be able to get across the map, because as I said before, your biggest survival tactic with a heavy fighter is going to be this zoom aspect, to be able to run away and control the fights. This is almost the exact same maneuvers over and over again here, except I messed that one up pretty bad. I'm not going to be able to recover from this, and I think we're going to be losing that zone because now I don't have control. Oh, come on. And I'm out. That was a failure on my part. I tried to boost through the turn, and that pushed us way too far over the edge. We do have the spawn zone in the middle. I hope they can retain it, because I would like to make a run at the command center. I hear you, Falco, but I died, and I'm the only aircraft that was engaging them. I guess we'll have to go back and do it again. They still have some of the capture zone left, so let's try and give our guys the advantage while we can. Oh, nope, they got it. But we captured theirs, so I guess we did a nice flip on it. This aircraft has a pretty impressive air-to-ground ordnance, so it's not a bad move to use this to be able to try and capture zones. Now, these command centers will allow you to be able to get those bomber flights to fly in, and then we can distract the enemy the same way that they're essentially distracting us right now, by occupying us, because we have to try and defend this site. Let's get this reticle on target here. I don't want to turn just yet, because I was going to get smashed by the buildings. Flip up and over. It's a bit of a shallow angle I'm making here. Let's get this one on target. That should help our team out. We're using our extra boost here to try and get up to these bombers. We got quite a few aircraft over this zone, so they should be able to flip that relatively easily. I don't think I'm going to get there in time. The only option we really have is to destroy an aircraft to try and keep this thing active. Because while those bombs are falling, trying to take the zone, we can get some more of those capture points back to keep this thing in active sight. That's the ground. Gotta flip around in this IL-8. It gave us some of our sight back. There we go. We were able to hold on to it. And we've got both bomber sites, so I don't need to deal with bombers anymore. Oh, he had to say it. I had to say it. There it is. This can be a lot of, I don't want to, like, it's money. It's money. You're going to make a lot of credits and experience as a heavy fighter intercepting bombers. It's kind of an easy role, too. I won't say that it's fun. It's kind of painstaking sometimes, but when these situations occur and you need to go after these things, it's in your best interest to do it. And as you can see, there's a heavy engaging the IL-8, or is he? He's not doing a great job of it. We'll finish it off. Now we'll turn back on these bombers. This is a close match, and it As long as I can try and keep these bombers off, my guys are intercepting their heavies and their fighters that are doing the same thing I am. We might get this just based off of aircraft attrition, actually. Is that seriously the only aircraft left over there? Alright, let's do this. Kill this son of a gun. We can kill him. That's game. We did it, boys. That was a good match. 17,000. I'm trying to grind this aircraft out so that way I can get to the Westland. Back to hangar. Anytime. This always takes forever to load. We got Winged Legend out of that. That's every time you get over 14,000 combat points. So that's usually the sign that you had a pretty decent game. We'll go over some of the stats of the aircraft. Ooh, I got another skill point. That's what I was hoping for. So we did kill 18 aircraft, but bear in mind that we killed, what, 2.5 bomber flights? That's a lot of bombers that I ended up killing. I didn't kill many players. We did do some substantial ground damage, and we were able to help flip some of those capture zones. You can even see here when it comes to these sub-objectives, we helped capture the sector, so that's what really helped us there. We also got capture points as a result of dropping those bombs, and we also got some of our aircraft-specific mission, which is to destroy aerial targets and air defense aircraft, as well as bombers from the attack flight. So that is an important one, killing bombers from the attack flight. That is your role. Fighters don't get that bonus. Multi-roles don't get that bonus. Ground attackers definitely don't get that bonus. So that's why fighters should do this, because it's going to give you that experience bump, and it's kind of free money, guys. That's where you earn your bread and butter, if you would, to go after those things. When it comes to crew skills, obviously I've already mentioned this. When it comes to fast aircraft, I emphasize Engine Guru, and I also emphasize Marksman, because you're going to get a limited amount of time on target, and you want to get as many of those shells to hit where they need to go when you make that pass, so you can maximize the amount of damage on that boom portion of the boom and zoom. And then, of course, the Engine Guru gives you the zoom. When I get the third skill point, engine accuracy, I'll kind of do a toss-up based on what I think the next aircraft needs, because I should be out of this by the time that becomes an issue. But for the time being, I'm going to throw on Demolition Expert, because then I will have better success dropping those bombs. You saw how I was really zoomed in, and I was paying attention to where I dropped those bombs, because even though they're 1,000-pounders, sometimes they leave a couple buildings behind, and if you leave a couple buildings behind in a highly contested area, then the enemy's going to come in and take what it is that you damaged. It's almost like the bots know what was damaged, and they go in and finish it off, so don't give them the opportunity. So I'm going to throw that on here for now, and I may change it later. When it comes to the equipment, engine tuning, more engine power, aircraft polish, maximum speed, and acceleration in the dive. It's the same thing I did with the P-38 Lightning, and the same thing when it comes to the gyroscopic gun sight. Now, I know I kind of started the trail off because I was focusing on the game, but when I talk about the upgrades here, you can see these Hispano cannons. They're Mark IIs, 90 damage apiece. They only go out to about 2,231 feet. The rate of fire is a little bit lower. Overall, the gun armament isn't that great. Compare this to its predecessor when we go to the Mosquito. There it is. There's the Mark II Hispanos. Same thing, 90 damage, 400 rate of fire, 2,231, but it also has these Hispanos. Now granted, that's only 100 damage per second more, but that 100 damage per second more when you get in close would have really helped with those bombers, wouldn't it? So that's why it's kind of a step down. And you've unlocked these 500-pound bomb and these 8 rockets, so you're going to get those on the Hornet. And when you look at this thing with a fully upgraded engine, its airspeed is going to be 416 miles an hour. The Hornet without that is 394. That's with the stock engine. Now you could drop off the munitions and get some of that speed back, and that's what I'm talking about. You drop those off and you get that speed back. The guns, when you upgrade the guns, they pump out 115 damage a second, and they're also firing at 420 rounds per minute, and you're also getting a little bit of a bump in range, which allows you to be able to engage earlier on. So that's why I wanted to go for the guns first. I think I actually tossed a bunch of my free XP at it. Then I got the Griffin engine. I put on 2 500-pound bombs. I think I went with the 2,000 pounders next because it still had the same speed reduction. So you can see here the airspeed reduction with the bomb, with a 1,000-pound bomb, is the same as when you mount the 500-pound bomb. And if you take it off entirely, you know, you get another bump of about, I think this one was 12. Yep, 12 miles per hour as a cap. But then when you get the Merlin engine, it bumps up your speed another 25 miles an hour, which I think is more than enough for you to be able to throw those rockets on, which take 13 away from your max speed. So it's a bit of a pain to grind. When it comes to the airframe, I think I upgraded this before I upgraded to the Merlin 130 engine. That gives you better acceleration in the dive, or higher top speed in the dive, a little bit higher survivability, and it increases maneuverability slightly. You saw this thing's kind of sluggish in the maneuverability department. I don't really care about my turnarounds as much as I care about when I'm getting that gun on a target as I'm making a pass. I want to maximize the amount of time that I can kind of do an S turn against that target and keep those guns on as I'm making that boom pass. I don't care if I turn a little bit, but as soon as I kind of overtake that target, I just keep going. I don't try and turn back on once those guns are off target, but this maximizes that amount of time. And I think that that's the best move when you start going down this line. It might even be in your best interest just to focus solely on the engines and then go back and do the airframe, the gun, and the bomb. That way you can at least do some ground attack, and maybe that's your jam, and maybe that's where you'll have the best of luck. It'll allow you to be able to control the fights and engagements a little bit more. You saw there was a few instances I spawned right in the middle. There were a lot of enemies around, and I just beelined it out of there using that maximum speed. This is a pretty decent speed at this tier, but you start to run into problems with this aircraft when you're under tiered, because, I mean, just take a look at this. This is the Doe. It's a tier 8 premium, but 472. The tier 8 Pancake, 503. You're going to have some serious problems keeping up with, or staying away from these things. In fact, you're going to have trouble staying away from the P51H when this thing's going at 478. Now, granted, this is when you're out tiered. But even looking at this aircraft, this is an unupgraded Thunderbolt. This thing can get up to 435. And this is a multi-role fighter at the same tier. So you can't outrun everything. You still got to pay attention to who you're going up against and when you should run. But that's why I like having the increased airspeed on a dive using aircraft polish, because this guy right here, you'll note. Come on, mouse. Give me the points. Yeah. Aircraft polish. There we go. It's only top 5. It only adds 5% to the speed. It doesn't add anything for descent. It's only on heavy fighters that get that bonus from dive. So that's where you kind of get your edge. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got a little bit more of an insight as to how heavies essentially operate and how I fly them. But I think that they're great for being able to control the engagement and choose what fights they get into. So if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to try to pump these out every day. We'll see what work has to say about that, because it may send me out of town. In that case, I think I'm going to try and record a whole bunch of these over the weekend so I can release them over a period of time. I want to try and be honest about this and keep these things coming out pretty regular. So if you like the video, again, let me know. And if you didn't like the video, let me know what you didn't like, and maybe I can make it better for next time. Catch you later.